Welcome to the video edition of Now Loading, our weekly segment where we talk about all the video games that are coming out this week. This segment is for the week of April 10th, 2012. And we've got kind of a slow week this week, don't we, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's kind of a quiet week, except on the digital and indie front.
Yep. First up, we have Tribes Ascend, which is coming out for the PC. Did you ever play any of the old Tribes games back in the day?
I played the original one a little bit when it came out, but I was never really too much into the team-based shooters.
You missed out. I played the first game and a lot of the second game, and they're really kind of cool as they are a bit of a different take on the first-person genre. Is that, like you said, they require a lot of really good team play, and there's a deathmatch mode in the game, but the action is really in the capture the flag mode, where you kind of have to coordinate large groups of people in both offense and defense as you try and capture these flags from these giant floating vehicles in the sky. This one's the free-to-play, so it's no expense to go out. You can just go out and download the client, log in, give them your contact information, and you can get up and running. And they're going the freemium route. And basically, where you're gonna pay things, where they're gonna make the money, is that you only have to pay to unlock items faster. So if I don't want to spend a lot of time with the game, I just want to unlock some weapons without earning experience, I can do that, or I can pay for fun cosmetic items. It looks really good. I tried playing a little bit of it. It didn't get too far into it, but it looks like a really good feeling to it. Like I said, it's free, so only thing you're going to waste when you play it is a little bit of your time and some of your bandwidth. Kind of continuing on the Bandy Bangwing, what can you tell me about Skullgirls?
Skullgirls is a new 2D fighter from this new group called Reverge Labs. It's actually a group that formed from notable tournament fighter Mike Z and internet artist Alex Ahad. They kind of got together. Mike had created his own fighting game engine. Alex had all these concepts of these character arts, and they got together and combined them, and you have Skullgirls. And it's a 2D fighter for the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade. A little bit of a different type of fighter. It's an all-female cast, and kind of takes a new look at the tag team mechanic. It's not like tagging in and out like Street Fighter Cross Tekken or Marvel vs. Capcom 3. This one's actually based on character ratios and sums of their attributes. And you can have up to 3 characters on your teams, but if you have somebody who's really strong, you're only going to be able to choose maybe one more really weak person on your team. So the attributes of the 2 teams have to balance out regardless of how many people are involved. Now, didn't Matt, I believe, played it last year a little bit before?
Yeah, he wrote a preview. He got to check it out at the Anime Expo and loved it. I think his kind of telling comment to me was that it's a game that's built for fighting fans by fighting fans. So it's really tuned. It's really fast paced. And he said, like you said, it's kind of very focused. It's a very small cast of characters, but the artwork just is amazing. And you can look at this hand drawn style. They've got this kind of the character designs themselves are kind of weird out there. We've got people like giant mechanical hair and other various kind of distortion things, but looks like it's a pretty solid fighting game.
Yeah, that's what a lot of things that I've read about it said. Those are the 2 most notable aspects of it: are the hand-drawn 2D art style, which is supposedly gorgeous in motion, and then the system was built from the ground up by an actual person with tournament fighting experience. So it is built for fighting games fans by a true fighting game fan. So it's got the typical online and off battling, but a smaller roster than you're used to with most of the retail releases, but it's a digital fighter, so it'd be a nice little refreshing addition to the resurging to fighting game genre.
Yeah, you have to imagine that if the game does pretty well, they'll be adding more characters later through DLC.
Yeah, would think it'd be pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Now, there's another PC game coming out too, right? Is it Legend of, I'm hoping it's Grimlock, the big giant dinosaur from Transformers.
No,
I don't think that's it.
That would be kind of sweet, because every time I said it's called Legend of Grimrock. So it's actually about a mountain, not a giant dinosaur. Although that would be sweet. How awesome would be to have a Legend of the Grimlock, Grimlock smash, Grimlock, he's kind of the giant robotic Yoda in some ways. But no, Legend of Grimrock, which is coming out for the PC and the Mac this week, is a all new dungeon crawler. So you kind of control a group of 4 prisoners who have been kind of thrown in the mountain, this great Mount Grimrock, and have to escape. And what you don't kind of know going in, I was like, oh, there are a bunch of traps, monsters, all the kind of usual, dungeon fantasy kind of things that are trapped in here. And so you have to manage your dudes as you get through the dungeon. And so you have a stack 2-on-2, and you kind of have you have magicians, you have your typical kind of RPG classes. But the game's got lots of little hidden things here and there. The screen's really interactive. It's really well drawn. It actually reminds me, kind of dating myself tremendously, of the first Wizardry game. We get kind of the isometric perspective and you kind of wander through. This is all pure real time. It's beautiful. It looks like it's really well done. And if you're really kind of a hardcore RPG fan, they even have this hardcore mode where it turns the game's auto mapping off, and you
that can only mean one thing:
graphing paper. That's right.
That's right.
So draw your own dungeons, things like that. It's pretty sweet. And there's a lot of blood splatters, which kind of ties us into our next game, which is the Splatters, right?
Yep, the Splatters is another indie title. This one's hitting the Xbox Live Marketplace exclusively, at least for now, and it's by an indie group called Spiky Snail Games out of Israel. And this is another physics-based puzzler, which that genre is getting really big right now. I would best describe it as maybe a crossover between Angry Birds and Pain from the PlayStation Network. Basically, you send these little acrobatic blobs of goo into objects on the screen, and they bust apart and splatter themselves all over everything. And that's really the object of the game, is particularly there's these little bombs scattered throughout, and you have to get them all covered with your splatters with your first shot in order to pass a level.
So it's kind of like John Holmes, the video game.
That's kind of a scary thought, but I can kind of see how you came up with that.
So maybe it's more like Bob the Painter, the video game.
Yeah, and what really makes me sad is right after the John Holmes comment, I was going to talk about the fluid physics of the game.
Ew.
But now I feel kind of dirty just bringing it up. But yeah, it's really heavy on the fluid physics, which is kind of their edge and their take and what they're adding to the physics puzzle genre. And, as it hits things, it splatters in different directions, so you might have to strategically shoot your blob, I can't believe I just said that, into one area so that it splits and goes in two different directions and covers different objects and bonuses and whatnot. So it's kind of bringing that whole mobile genre to the Xbox Live Marketplace.
Sounds very esoteric.
Soundbite's just going to come back to get me on this one, I can just tell.
Yep. I really don't want to blow your load all in one shot there, eh?
Yep, I guess so.
And I guess, folks, this is why we can't have nice things. Anyway, that wraps it up for the video edition of this week's video edition of Now Loading. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Jeremy.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week.